Good morning, Claudia.
Morning.
Yeah, okay, well, here we are again.
We just can't stop, can we?
I guess we can't. Yeah, the truth must be spoken. Christine and Claudia. I'm also known as Ariel Sky on Facebook, and that's Claudia ... Iaz. Okay, so there really isn't much more that needs to be said other than an invitation that the subject we're going to cover today, we've covered our progression through our own inner gnosis over the course of several years. So we do have videos, other videos up on this YouTube channel. What I feel that deeply needs to be stated before we move into this, and this is a subject we sort of snuck up on, or it snuck up on us, is that Claudia and I have been working together for about 5 years now. And our process has actually been an inner process. And what I mean by that is, and I don't mean, it's not about male or female body types. It's about a type of feminine intuition, okay? And it really starts in the gut. And the way we've gotten into all of our work, our research, has been through the feeling body. So we would pick up things, we would share things, we would then go back to the internet and start looking. And we also have included in this research, right? When the intuitive rising comes up, it's like, well, where's the truth of this? What's really the truth? How do you find the truth? And I'll just take from as above, so below, that truth is a straight line, right? Through all of the masses of information out there. Now, I can say that this may be my inner truth, does not mean necessarily that I'm imposing it upon anyone else. Claudia, I don't know if you'd like to add anything to that.
No, I think you said it all.
Yes. And there's another aspect to this. We also have worked with a group of friends. And so I'm sure they'll recognize their contributions to this because many people do work in a deep intuitive way. And so because we've been sharing for a long time, it's sort of like all these bits and pieces were like leads. They were like something taking us to some deeper, rooted comprehension and gnosis of what we're looking at. So without further ado, I'm going to take us off screen and put up a share screen right now, and we'll just see where this goes, because we never know, do we?
Nope.
No. Okay.
Clueless as usual.
Yeah, it's like it may seem like we're clueless at times, but we usually find some way to get this together. So here we are. Okay, this is titled "Flat Earth and the Earth Sphere: Realms of the Plane of Creation." We're going to go into North mythology and other origin creation stories that connect the esoteric knowledge of the Vril, the Tool Society, and the Third Reich. And the word Reich means realm. The way we started into this, Claudia, and you might want to talk about your own journey, is that there seems to be so much controversy out there about flat Earth. And when one is describing a flat Earth plane, okay, and we do call it a planet, and we do call it in Spanish a planicio, there's also another side. So we have a sphere, and the only way to see the sphere that the Earth is through the esoteric realms and looking at the underworld, the underside. So I see a lot of attention put to the Earth dome. Some call it a containment dome. And so we won't go completely into flat Earth at all right now, because what we want to do is go down to the roots.
Yep.
This will become apparent as we go throughout our slides here. In my sword, I trust. And what I will say about that, because we are going to be looking at Nordic and the white race, is that the sword is the inner sword. Okay, this is not the sword that is used to to destruct. Once one has their inner truth, they have their inner sword, and in that they trust.
It really stands for truth.
It stands for truth, exactly. And so it's not an outside truth, it's the inner truth. It's the forging of the inner sword, and one could call it the central point where truth meets, because the sword of truth is the dual. It's a two-edged sword. So you have to cut away at the parts inside yourself that are lies, the things that keep you, the things that betray you, the things that you still hold, okay, fears, doubts. That's why it's a dual-edged sword.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So this is a depiction. It's just a drawing. It's a pretty simple one of the flat Earth, the celestial dome, which is Yggdrasil, and the roots of creation. So this is where we want to go. And just take a moment at it, looking at it, because what we have, we all know that a seed starts the tree, right? And so in a depiction of this, we could call it the tree of life. We could call it the cosmic tree. But it has its roots underneath the earth.
Unseen.
In the unseen. Exactly. It's exactly in the unseen. Anything that's underground is not seen by the eyes when you're just looking out at the flat earth plane. There's also the dome, and there's also the branches and the fruits. Now, I know many people spend a lot of time in that realm, but we want to get down to the roots, and then we want to see where we can find the inner earth. Okay, so Yggdrasil, okay. At the center of the Norse spiritual cosmos is an ash tree, Yggdrasil. The Old Norse, Asker Yggdrasil, which grows out of the well of Erd. I can't pronounce the Old Norse pronunciation, but the word Erd and the word well become very important in what we're talking about today. There are 9 worlds that are held in the branches and the roots of the tree. The name Asker Yggdrasil probably strikes most modern people as being awkwardly complex. It means the ash tree of the horse of Ygr. Ygr means the terrible one, and is a byname of Odin. The horse of Odin is Sleipnir. This may seem like a puzzling name for a tree, but it makes sense when one considers that the tree as a means of transportation between worlds is a common theme in Eurasian shamanism. Odin rides Sleipnir up and down Yggdrasil's trunk and through its branches on his frequent journeys throughout the 9 worlds. Ord, pronounced Ord, Old Norse, word, Old English, word, means destiny. The well of Erd could therefore just as aptly be called the well of destiny. So I just want to make a few comments here, because after finding this information and really pondering it, what we have with Odin and the terrible one, now just those are words to ponder. I won't talk about them too much, is that as a being, okay, as a being of, let's say, mastery or magnitude, his horse had 8 legs. So he was free to go up and down and everywhere. And this really comes into consideration when we talk about perceptions, because as long as we're locked in any angle of perception, whether it be sideways, upwards, or down, or we're not looking at the 4 corners, the 4 elements, we're not in contact with all of this. And we'll see where we go with this afterwards. But, and also the word, okay, actually means weaving. So this is a depiction, okay, of the Norns at the Well of Erd. So they are female divine beings who have an influence over the course of destiny than any other beings in the cosmos. They dwell within the Well of Erd, beneath Yggdrasil, the great ash tree that stands at the center of the universe and holds the 9 worlds in its branches and roots. They shape destiny by carving runes into the trunk of the tree, or in some sagas and poems by weaving destiny like a web or tapestry. Let's just stop and consider this for a moment. In my own journey into different realms, I understood, and I came to the place that one needs to go into the deep well. And it's a very tight passage, as Carl Jung so famously said, and none shall be spared it. So we have a trinity of female beings who have influence over the course of destiny. This is going to become important as we go forward here. It's something I just want to speak it to hold the import of what is being shown here. Claudia, I don't know if you want to say anything right now.
No, go on.
Okay, all righty. We're going to go through these slides fairly quickly and not get into that, but I want to show that the cultures, the Native American creation story is Turtle Island, and we will be bringing what's happening right now on our planet into this. So you can see that we have a turtle with water underneath and a tree. This is from Hinduism. The Kurma is the second avatar of Vishnu, the second creation of Vishnu, and it is depicted as a turtle, again, swimming in the cosmic sea. The water is above and the water is below. Again, here we have it. This is where, looking at it all, an ancient Hebrew map of the earth plane, the heavenly dome, and the great deep. So I would take from this, as we're going through it, that all the ancient root cultures had a similar, depiction of what the earth plane actually is.
I want to chime in here.
Okay. You want me to go back?
No, it's okay. This conversation we had about anagrams earlier, so I couldn't help but play around with the word Hebrew.
Right.
Because you were saying that the Norns weave a web.
Mm-hmm.
An anagram for Hebrew is web-her.
Oh, beautiful.
So this is how you find connections.
I'm so glad you brought that up, because it's like we have been playing with words. And this is a really vital aspect, because a word is sound. It's the resonance of the speech.
Yep.
It's the sound between the words. And so we've taken to a lot of play in taking apart words, looking for the root word or the root sound, and then turning them around. And Hebrew especially is an anagram. And that's something I'll talk about a little bit later when we get to the end of the slides, because where we are here, Claudia and I right now, is not anything but the continuation of deeper and deeper gnosis.
Mm-hmm.
That was brilliant, Claudia. I really had it. You know, I've been playing with other words, but yeah. Again, here we have Tibet, Shambhala, Mount Mirror, okay, which is the depiction of the earth plane and the four corners or directions. And this becomes important as we go through the slide. So I've noticed that in the flat world or the flat world depictions, we either have a tree or we have a mountain depicted, a tower of some sort. So there's two things there, and I'm still looking at those closely. Perhaps they actually represent the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
Also looking at Toltec and Mayan, the depiction of the nation of Azatlan. And now that's a whole other creation story, and this brings in the Maya and the Toltec nations. So it's just showing, you can look at it. There's a foundation, there's a tree, there's a root, there's the sun, there's the moon, and there's a dome. And I do want to point out, I could have pointed it out in any of them, but I will right now. When you look at the dome, okay, it has two pillars, okay? It touches down on the earth plane at cardinal points, all right? And so even this morning, as I was just doing a simple thing like bending an exercise, I realized that even in Egypt, and we're not going to go to Egypt today, but that Seth, what's her name? I said it this morning so well. The sky goddess. Okay, yeah. The sky goddess, okay, as she's depicted. She's bending over, forming the dome of the earth, but she has her hands in the ground and her feet in the ground on the other side. So she's forming an arc. She's literally forming an arc, a transformational arc, if you will. So these are all just like clues. They're all telling us something. It's for each of us, each individual, to take the journey or not. It's not, for me to say to anybody else, but everything is speaking right now. Everything. And the closer we get to the spirit world, the closer we get to the spirit of things, we have an understanding that's not coming from textbooks. It's not coming from scholarly papers. And this is an important and very important moment for us as humanity to reclaim ourselves.
Yeah.
Okay. So here we have use of runes in the symbology of the Third Reich or realm. So we already read that the Norns carve runes into the ash tree. So there's very deep meanings in these symbols, and a lot of people use runes to fortune tell or to see what's going on in their lives or as anything. And when I started looking at a lot of the symbology used in the Third Reich, I started to see the runes, and I also started to see the inverse of the runes, and that's going to become important. Okay, so this rune is so bad at pronunciation. Yuwas, okay? Literally the esoteric Yggdrasil, the axis or process of spiritual becoming, upper and lower worlds meeting in Midgard, Earth. Think about that for a minute. Upper and lower worlds meeting in Midgard, the Earth. It is the rune of the mysteries of life and death. Death, mysteries, the timeless, and here it says Kundalini. Axis of heaven, earth, hell, secrecy, encoding immortality. Movement toward enlightenment, endurance, initiation, protection, or confusion, destruction, dissatisfaction, weakness, and in death. And that's important when anybody that reads tarot or uses runes, will intimately know that there's always the inverse. And that's a really important part of what Claudia and I have been doing is instead of looking at the world as, let's just say, the current way of seeing our world is looking at it from the inverse. You can't find a truth unless you flip it upside down. It's just, we know what's been going on here. So it also governs initiation into the wisdom of the world tree. It is the liberation from the fear of death, the development of spiritual endurance, and hard will to engage initiative in spiritual vision. It's also communication between levels of reality, the worlds or Yggdrasil. And I want to read just a quote. The path is hard and lonely, and there is no end in sight. This one phrase, okay, says everything to where we are right now on planet Earth. Because it is the individual who is using the exercise of free will, knowing, okay, that there is no end in sight. We are in a process right now, a great churning, if you will, that's not, it's an unknown. And as death is an unknown, so is this, let's call it collective right now, happenings of humanity. This is why I feel that this work that we've been doing, Claudia, is vital. It's alive. It's real.
Yes, it certainly feels that way.
Yes. Knowledge is nothing but data until it becomes incorporated, okay, integrated, a part of a living being that is willing by its own will, okay, to do this work. And each of us will do it individually. Each of us will do it in our own unique, essential way.
Oh yeah, there is no one size fits all.
Right.
Never.
No, I know. You and I are living examples of that. Okay, darling. All right. So let's look for a moment here. I don't know where this drawing came from. I don't know its source, but it spoke a lot. And I'm going to talk a little bit right now about something I saw this morning too that I haven't even shared with Claudia. So we have the outer sun, the one we see, and we have the black sun. All right. The black sun is what we don't see. One could call it the pure potential, the light in the dark. All right. And so what we have is that the force fields of magnetism are counter-rotational, positive and negative electric charge. As above, so below, inner spins outwardly. This inward spins outward is when one arrives at a state of being where the inner world, the gnosis, the uprisings from the deep well, is now consciously working not with intent, not with dreams, not with things that we think we want or desire, but deeply inside the river or in the well, listening. And that is going to come outwardly. Humanity right now is in a stage of dealing with its shadow. So what we see projected into the Earth dome, all right, is the shadow of humanity. And none of us, okay, we would not be here if this wasn't part of us. And I don't know how many times and how many wise friends say, it's the inner work that's the vital work. It's our job or our work is to find our spiritual connections. The spirit is in everything. So just looking at this one diagram, okay, what we see in the center is the Star of Abraham, or the Star of David, excuse me, misspoke, all right, which is the all-seeing eye, okay, looking outward. There's a third triangle, okay, there is a third triangle. It's the unseen, okay, it can't be seen. And I was looking at vortex spinning fields this morning, Claudia,
Mm-hmm.
and I saw that in a static, held-in way, these two upward-downward triangles, male, female, however you want to look at it, is static. It's holding space. But when you put the third triangle on it into the spin, which we can call the black sun, the unseen, you have a spinning dynamo. Okay, you actually have a sphere being created. But without that third triangle,
nothing happens.
Nothing happens. And I had these words come to me this morning: os, in os, in os. Okay, it's like within, within, within. All right, and then it's, I guess in biblical terms, you would call it the Holy Spirit.
Yeah.
Right? So, and if you look at also this diagram, you see the spinal column. That's the inner sword. That's the strength we have, all right, is moving that energy up and down the spinal column, being able to have our inner spin so that our energy is in a straight line. And that way we don't get caught up in the outer anymore. We're not affected, okay? We're not spun off course. We're not searching down rabbit holes that don't go anywhere. Because it is an aspect of an inner illumination.
Absolutely. And then the sword goes outwards and becomes words.
Exactly. And these words are vibration, using, as we are, Claudia, the English language, and that's why we take it apart all the time. All right, that's why we look for the sound of the letters of the words, and this is something that is coming into this slides right now, because many have heard that a spell was put on us, and it was through spelling.
Mm-hmm.
And so listening to the word, not in the common sense that everybody just speaks words all the time and they think they know what they mean. Most people are still using words and they have zero clue to what they really mean.
And that's a dangerous thing to do, because that's exactly what upholds the black magic of the words.
Exactly. You know, again, it's consciousness. It's conscious awareness. It's refining within the self the own conscious awareness.
Mm-hmm.
How we use a word, and that's a big responsibility. And to be careless with them, to fling them about, to parrot them from other people, to, get caught up in the memes of the day, and everybody's going that way. These are all aspects of living in the outer world, only seeing the visible. Lack of consciousness, lack of exercise of free will. Okay, so the reason you'll see in a moment where we're going to tie this in, but we have also, again, I'm showing a rune, a connection to Odin. Now remember, he's called the Terrible One. We have to really go deep to understand that. And the Valkyrie. And I'm just going to read this because Miguel Serrano, you've been with his work for a while.
Yeah.
I just found it. So, and I want to speak it the best way I can, because these are almost like calls, okay? That come from a deep, deep well, okay? The way Miguel Serrano speaks, okay? Oh, heroes, oh, Vera, we have arrived at the end of these pages of stone, as if we had sailed beneath the waters in the direction of the disappeared continent of Hyperborea, beneath the ice of the soul aboard Caluche, with a man to come, waiting return and resurrection. I have been joined in this adventure by my Valkyrie of Hyperborea. with her blue eyes, two windows into the uncreated light, she who fights for me within me. I mean, I'm just saying that, and like my body's just like, it's freaking vibrating, okay? So I'm going to leave it there. I don't want to make an interpretation for anybody else. I don't know if you want to say something, Claudia, or not, but you know, there are so many truths in that one statement. It is deep.
Yes, yes, extremely so. He was a very wise man, that Miguel Serrano. He wrote a book on Hitler, and he ripped apart everything that was known. Very fascinating work.
Mm-hmm. And if we just look at the image for a minute, what do you see in that image? We see the strength, right? The strength, and it's plugged in at the top through horns, right? These are our antenna. Okay, this is where we plug in, and there's power there. But it's not the power over, it's the power within. Okay, so from that previous slide, we have Lasgus. It literally means the water or the ocean in esoterically unconscious collective memory. Okay. The female ocean. The female ocean. The waters of life. Right? And all those waters hold our collective memory, but they're unconscious still. Our future selves call us from infinite past, and each night are eroded in our dreams. So this is where we move into some territory. Okay. I'm trying to keep it as simple as possible. You have inverse double Lasgus, okay, right here. And this is an emblem of the black sun from the SS, which means the black sun. So when people commonly have been trained to see SS, okay, they're trained to think it is evil, the incarnation of evil. But within the Third Reich was a great esoteric truth. And it was all about the black sun. Right? So when you look at one of their emblems, you see this, well, they're not saying the outward sun, they're saying the inward sun, and it's combined. Right? So you have actually two principles combined right there, the two that are the one. And I love Henrik Himmler, all right? And I don't know if you want to look at some of our other videos where we talk about what happened with him and his valiant jump to the last attempt made by the Third Reich for peace with the Allied forces. Okay, this man gave his life to bring peace. Talk about that later. And this is just one of his quotes. Now it is just this world we like the best, the Germanic world, the world of Nordic life. So just to take that a little bit further, okay, is like Germanic and Nordic life, okay, white race, okay, root race, not evil. I'm not gonna read all of this because this PowerPoint will be downloadable for anybody that wants it. But I will read the one piece right up here. I'm gonna move this. The guide leads you to the doorway, then waits for your return. Seat of the soul, revelations, wholeness, transmutation of thought into energy for action. All right. So this is the deeper esoteric part. It is a counterforce to cosmic ice in the rune Isa. The two are one. There were no accidents in these symbols. This also comes from the SS archives from a Dr. Schuman. And this is vital to really let sink in. In everything, we recognize two principles that determine the events: light and darkness, good and evil, creation and destruction. As in electricity, we know plus and minus. It is always either or. These two principles, the creative and the destructive, also determine our technical means. Everything destructive is of satanic origin. Everything creative is divine. Every technology based upon explosion or combustion has thus to be called satanic. The coming new age will be an age of new, positive, divine technology, exclamation. And I thank Claudia for having brought this up in many of our talks. Let's make it just sit here today. We look at our world, don't we? Every day, all of us. We see the destruction. We see the destruction. It's undeniable now. Even the most, let's say, asleep amongst the humans on this planet right now are coming awake to the great destruction that's being wrought on all of humanity and all of life. And yet, through all...
You can't miss it anymore.
No, you can't miss it anymore. You have to be practically dead to miss it. I'm sorry. But,
yeah, it's true.
But this, I don't know when this quote was taken, but it was probably back in the 1940s, okay? It could have even been earlier than that. And we're going to bring
It was earlier.
Yeah. Okay, so there was already an inner gnosis in these people of what they were talking about. You don't just come up and say something like this because it's a good idea. You have to have it living in you.
Yes, and I mean, Schauberger, for example, also said, look at nature and learn from her.
Yes.
And I think that's a piece of very, very solid, sound advice.
It is. And in the soundness of the advice that one can give is like, that's where everything is contained. Nature has never been anything but abundantly showing us the spirit in matter. That's her. She is spirit. It's the spirit in the matter. The mother. The Vril Society, which was called the All-German Society of Metaphysics. Okay, we've shown, many others have shown, the research has been done, okay? It's been also distorted, the research, that within the Third Reich, there were a group of women, this is Maria Orisic, is that how you pronounce her name?
Yes.
Okay. There were a
It's
group,
not a German name.
No, and really she's a mystery. I mean, she's really a mystery. And yet she was bringing in information, technological drawings. She was the primary one that was getting information, right? And it's pretty easy at this point to determine that some people like to say off-world technology. I'd like to say inner world, all right? Because everything's connected. And so she and a group of women, and they let their hair grow very long, all right? And they basically were receivers of information, which they were giving. So we have the Vril Society. So what is Vril? Right? And it's actually very simple, right? But it can seem, it's vital energy. Around the same time, we had Nikola Tesla, we had Dr. Wilhelm Reich, we had all of these incredibly awake, and not even just awake, let's say, beings that had contact with all of this, they intimately understood it. So you can call it prana, you can call it organ. It has many, many names. Chi, all right? So, but vril energy, okay, and this is an old cover of a book, right? Counter-rotational charge creates a field of magnetic force. Magnetism is a physical phenomena produced by the motion of electric charge, resulting in attractive and repulsive forces between objects. So taking that into the inner and the outer, which is all the work that's being done right now on free energy devices, levitation devices, when it comes from the inner consciousness, right? It's really literally the inner field manifesting outwardly. And when we understand that in ourselves, there's access points. We start to open up our ethereal bodies. We have access points through our fingertips, through our nerves, through our hair, through our eyes, through our nose. We're not just locked into five senses any longer. And this was understood. I mean, I think it's vital that people get this in their head. You know, what's being developed right now in the hands of thousands and thousands of free beings on the planet is how to access and use this for creative purposes, not for destruction. And it is the inner and it is the outer. So here we move from the esoteric into the vril, into the ethers, and into plasma. And I'm going to quote Miguel Serrano again. If you just look at the symbol of the black sun, it says everything. You know, it's actually not so esoteric after all at all, right? Inner and outer light counter-rotational spin creates magnetism. I actually have the same quote here, so I'm not going to read it again. You want to speak on this, Claudia, a little bit?
Not really.
Okay.
Nothing comes to me at the moment.
Okay.
But yeah, I would say the symbol is so obvious.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I'm going to bring Nikola Tesla in here. Okay. True science master. All right. He understood these principles. Not only did he understand them in the outer mind scientific realm, which we'll see very shortly, he was an inner source being. He was an inner source being. All right. And very, very developed. I mean, if you can look at the electric charge, and he's sitting right under it. This is a really famous picture, right? Okay, taking notes, right? Okay. So we know, and anybody that's studied this knows that this ability to take energy out of the ethers, free energy, and utilize it was already known at the time of World War I and World War II. And humanity denied it, and we'll see why. So this is a quote from Nikola Tesla. He was a free thinker and free energy. One has to free the mind from its conditions to be a free thinker. I am part of a light, and it is the music. The light fills my six senses. I see it, hear it, feel it, smell it, touch it, and think. Thinking of it means my sixth sense. Particles of light are written note. A bolt of lightning can be one bolt of lightning can be an entire sonata. 1,000 balls of lightning is a concert.
Beautiful.
It's beautiful. And I just have a little image down there. It was a technical book. I don't have the book. I found the image. They called his free energy device the Odin resonator. Resonator. Odin. So when we're speaking of the sphere, okay, when we're speaking of the earth plane, the under roots and the cosmic tree, the fruits, there's Middle Earth, Hollow Earth, Midgard. It's an eminence of light. And it is good to note here, Claudia, which we won't get into deeply today, ice.
Oh, yes. Let's go to Antarctica.
We'll do that on another journey. But ice is extraordinarily vital to listen to. I'll put it that way. My time at Standing Rock, walking on the ice plains, was magic. It was pure magic. Not convoluted, not wrought, not thought. It was magic. And if we just stop for 1 minute and think that ice, snow, more individual creations in water, okay? Anybody that knows what ice looks like under a microscope, each individual compacted into ice. What is the eminent field there? And so, ice. Just another map, okay? Because we've heard the word Hyperborea. Was a fabulous realm of eternal spring located in the far north, beyond the home of the north wind. Its people were blessed, long-lived, race untouched by war, hard toil, and the ravages of old age and disease. I'm not going to bring in the whole aspects of Middle Earth, but we all know the stories of Middle Earth. We know it through Tolkien. We know it through other mythological stories. We know it through odes, sonatas, and all of this. So to deny that there is something existent there, we're not listening. Sorry, your chuckle's so cute. Okay. So bringing in a lot of things, I do want to say that Claudia and I have been going through this material, working with the etymology of words, looking down into the root sounds of words, and also just doing this. So a lot of things are coming through this presentation that are for ponder. They are for a deeper inner individual, I want to say study, ponder. Ponder is the best word. Mm-hmm. So we know that the Third Reich, and it's has a horrible outward reputation going around the world, and it was said stealing masterpieces of art, right? That's how they present it out there. Well, let's turn that around, knowing what we know today, what's happened in Syria, Iraq, Tibet, Iran, okay? All of these places, what's happened there? They've been destroyed. Ancient relics have been destroyed. So maybe we can turn around and say, perhaps the Third Reich, perhaps Adolf Hitler was trying to preserve. Perhaps he was a being that saw deep enough, knew enough, that that was his mission, not to steal.
Rather to prevent the theft.
Exactly, to preserve it. And he was going to make a super museum. Well, when you say a super museum, well, you usually want to show the whole world what you have in a museum, right? So just read Williams. Clouds of glory do we come from God who is our home. Our birth is but a sleep and a forgetting. The soul that rises with us, our life star hath but elsewhere had its setting and cometh from afar. Not in entire forgetfulness and not in utter nakedness, but trailing. for myself, all right, bringing the waters above and the waters below. We came here. We came here. Okay, and our birth into this plane was a sleep and a forgetting. However, we are given everything we need to remember, because we weren't completely forgetful, and nor were we completely naked. This is a little, I had to really, really sit with this, Claudia.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, because it brings into holy blood and holy grail, which is fire in the blood.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, it's water turned to wine, if you will. It's the water of life turned to blood. And this piece, okay, which I didn't know about before, is the altarpiece of Ghent. And it is a German masterpiece and a German painter and a German treasure. This particular altarpiece has been taken away. It was taken out of Germany, first to Belgium. And Hitler went with the SS in wanting to recover it. And so I'm just looking at it and saying, okay, there's a deep symbology here. Deep symbology. All right, that there's something here that was very important to understand. And I will leave it at that, because it's not the purpose right now for us to go into all of that part aspect of it. I also want to bring in this piece here, because we've already looked at the yew tree, okay? Right, and here we have the three Marys at the crucifixion of Christ on the cross. So I'm going to give my little, it's taken me a few days to just sit with this enough to say, why did I choose this image? The yew tree is life. They hung the Christ energy on the cross, dead. That's why I call it a fiction. But this is the primary vehicle, okay, that the Christian church has used. All right. And we have the three Norns lamenting the death of the Christ energy. This was a barbarity. So there is a deep symbology here. Right? And it was not the outer of the man that goes by many names, a great avatar, okay, that died. But he did give his life. He did give his life to come here to open up a way. And this is what our outer world chose to do. And then they take that image, okay, and they use that image to keep people locked in the cold of death. Again, I'm just putting images out there, the ones that have come through, all right? We have an eagle, a golden eagle, all right, in full wing spread, duality imploded in one. And we have the swastika, which has been told to us that is the most evil symbol on the planet. It's telling us, go ahead.
That's probably why it's found in pretty much every ancient civilization, as well as in the sky. Mm-hmm. So it must be really terribly evil.
Right, but see, and what we have on this swastika is a counter spin. It's telling us the dark black sun, the unseen. That's how you get wings. That's how we fly. That's how our consciousness can take off. All right, no wonder it's been made into the symbol of evil. All right, don't look this way. Oh my God, don't even speak the word Adolf Hitler. We'll put you in jail. And I have 2 gold laurel leaves. Nobility, 2 gold. And so I found a trinity of words: nobility, truth, and grace. That's just the perspective from my eyes. See, truth comes through us, not to us. This is a oil painting of Adolf Hitler, known as Der Führer. Could you say it in German, please?
Der Führer.
Der Führer. Okay. I looked and looked for the translation of Der Führer, and because that's also one of those words that you say that and everybody, there's this immediate response, oh my gosh, you're talking about Hitler, it's evil. Well, it really is the leader of the fatherland.
Mm-hmm.
He came as father. Take a minute to look, okay? And it's like, to anybody that has an open, free mind, never fear asking questions. Okay, question everything you've ever been told, everything. Turn it upside down and inside out and backwards until you find the gold within it. Okay, so I'm asking a question. It's a question I asked. It's a question Claudia asked. What magnitude of a being would risk everything, knowing that to do so, he risked being branded as the greatest evils in the eyes of the world? There's other answers to that question, but they all carry the same message. So you can say an egocentric maniac, or you can say a being of magnitude that would risk everything. For what? For truth. And so then we ask the next question. What would the world be like today if the Third Reich had been the victors of the war? One behooves one, or to do their due diligence, to actually go into the records, actually go into the documents, study the works, see who's been put in jail, beat up to silence them. Look at their works. Why? Because we all know, and we certainly know, what the world is like right now, since the victors were the Allied forces. And those same forces are rampant. Rampant. I want to say something else here, Claudia.
Uh-huh. Go ahead.
I've stopped using labels, friends. It's like if one says Jew, all right, you either have a defense of Judaism or you have a virulent hate of it because it's the way it's been used. It's in a duality form. If you say the word Christian or Islam or any of these labels, they've all been perverted from their original roots. So it feels to me it behooves us to speak of energy without the labels, to look at the resonance without the labels. And what I feel about Adolf Hitler has been a growing and growing and growing. Words are going to fail me. Admiration for a being that would. And we know that there was an esoteric thing. We know that there was the female elements. We know the Nordic history, okay, the Nordic mythologies would risk everything, knowing that war was going to come. And he tried to prevent it time and time and time again. And he is the fatherland. It's the fatherland of the Germanic people, was really all he was about. And start looking, friends, okay? He had all nations were part even of his armed forces. There were many, many other races that came and joined him. Something else was happening than our history books have allowed us to see. Going to bring in another controversial figure here, okay? Again, what do we have? We have a symbol. There is no religion higher than truth. That was Madame Pulaski. She's been demonized also. So we still have the interlocking triangles, not the static ones. We have the ankh at the middle, which is life, which is the indivisible life. And we have at the top of it, we have the emblem of the swastika, or the counter-rotational black sun, which interrupts the Ouroboros, the way out. Truth. And then at the top, we have the Om. Om. To me, that sound is gold light. So let's come present day for a moment. We have what's been called the Aryan race, or the white race. And I put before the annals of time, I don't even know where that came from. That also, those words right there have been demonized. Aryan race, the white race, is carrying, okay, the stigma of evil. Ununderstood, unrescued, unresurrected. Right? And so what's happening on our planet right now, which is being demonstrated again and again and again and again through the red race, all right? Peace, all right? This is not about the four directions fighting each other. It's not about the four root races fighting each other. This is the point of union, and the time is right now. I just put some things that came to me, all right? Race. Right? Race, the word race, we think of division, we think of, you over there and me over here, comes from an Old Norse word that is a strong current of water. What do we have? Roots taking up the water of life. There were races, okay? There were currents coming up to form the tree of life. Never to do with the color of our skin. Okay, and our roots have become intertwined because we all drink from the same water of life. That's why water is life is not just a slogan. It's not a slogan. It's the absolute bottom level of our reality. If we do not protect the sacred waters of our bodies, of our home, of our children, all is becoming contaminated. So when we get to the aspect of the Holy Grail, okay, that secret inner chamber that is so much a mystery, the royal blood, the Sangral, the Holy Grail. And I'm not talking about the outer manifestations of royalty. I'm talking about the nobility within oneself, to know oneself. It's fire in the blood. Nobility, grace, energy, black sun. And I go right here. And I know Claudia is right there beside me, okay? Lucifer.
Yeah.
The radiant inner sun, the black sun, okay, or the black stone turned to radiance. This is the hidden door within us. And is it any wonder that every religion, school, doctrine, academia, it all has been set up to keep us from finding it. Don't look there. And even to the extent, if you look there, you risk your life. But one has to risk their life to have life. So honor to all the races. Because from the four directions, words weave reality. The white, the north, the Ur, the middle earth, the truth, by my sword I trust. and mirth. The red, the west, the earth protectors, peace, one people, wawaha. The black race, the south, the dream time, the ancient memory of all people, yidaki. The yellow race, the east, the golden light, shambhala, compassion, shuka. The four directions coming together. So we can inwardly, in our own song, be a verse nation again. Can you read this, Claudia?
I can.
Okay.
The Kabiri, we hold things up, we build. We place stone upon stone. Now you stand up on solid ground. We forged a flashing sword for you, with which you can cut the knot that entangles you. We also place before you the devilish, skillfully twined knot that locks and seals you. Strike, only sharpness will cut through it. Do not hesitate. We need destruction, since we ourselves are the entanglement. He who wishes to conquer new land brings down the bridges behind him. Let us not exist anymore. We are the 1,000 canals in which everything flows back into its origin. Claudia.
So that, and then we have truth, which is the triumph of the will. And the will is forged within oneself. It's not God's will. It's the sovereign will of a divine being that becomes forged. So either we live by the sword or we die by the sword. It's either or. And if you look at the image there, called the fiery sword of truth, what is it breaking apart but the crown? The absorption of power over. One has to break the absorption of power over any other being before they can have that sword. I'll read the top line and you the bottom.
Okay.
Just sit with this image for a moment. An innocent child. The truth once seen cannot be unseen.
And sovereignty is not given, it is taken.
Walk back here to Nikola Tesla. Instinct is something which transcends knowledge. We have undoubtedly certain finer fibers that enable us to perceive truths when logical deduction or any other willful effort of the brain is futile. When we go deep enough, when we go down deep into the deep well, we go down into the waters of life, when we get through all of our vast amount of projections and incarnations, when we bring all of that down into the deep well, we're in a place where it isn't willful any longer even. We have to use our will to get there, because now we're in touch with the waters of life themselves. We aren't outside of them, we're in them, we're part of them, we're flowing with it. And those very waters are the currents, all right, that show us the way. We're not fighting it anymore. We're not swimming upstream. We're not trying to control it, dam it, in any matter of things. But it takes our will to get there. And as they say, the truth shall set you free. Also in this image is a bird, a dove, a white dove. What is so vital about birds and feathers? They're light. They fly. And a bird can't fly with one wing, can it? I'm going to bring this in here. So let not we the people forget, all right, as the root races with the song of life in our life bloodstream, all right, we are not each other's enemies. We are not each other's enemies. We may be our own inner worst enemy, but it is removing from us all the aspects of what is known right now, the prophecy of the black snake, okay? The crown, okay? It's a dead corporate entity. How much clearer can it get? So let us not battle each other. Let us do our inner battle, but let us not battle or call ourselves by race, because at this point, we're all coming to central point, all right? So I'm just leaving here for anybody that finds value in it. The Crown Corporation, all right, is a dead entity. It's made of regulations, papal bulls. You can look at our Crown and the German Reich video. We'll talk a lot about that. It is a combination of the Vatican, which is the spiritual ruler. We have the City of London, which is the financial ruler. And we have Washington, D.C., which is the enforcement branch. They all operating together. There's an inverse to all of this too, all right? But currently right here, right now on our planet, this is what we're dealing with. Are we gonna live or are we gonna die? It's really quite simple.
I think more correct should be, are we going to realize that we have to live because we're seen as already dead?
Yeah, say that in another way, because this is still something that I know a lot of folks that are really trying right now to really get themselves around that. How are we a dead entity? How are we dead?
Most people identify themselves with their person. Your person is basically a bond, a piece of paper, a fiction, and that is dead. Your person is, you are considered lost at sea. Mm-hmm. And unless you declare yourself a living being, you are seen as dead.
Mm-hmm. So in some other, and not just ourselves, but there's many people putting out there what, is commonly been now called legal name fraud, right? So we're given a name at birth, we become a person at birth, become property of this corporation. And they're claiming every living thing on our planet Earth as their property through the corporate deed. And it's vital. It's vital to get this information. You have to take your sovereignty. You have to declare yourself living. You have to stop being ruled over and be inside out. And this is a very deep process. You say it all the time, and I always repeat you. It's one step at a time.
Yes, because you really, really need to get it internally for it to manifest outward.
Mm-hmm. Right. So knowledge becomes power, friends, when you find out what's really going on. And then you have a real free will choice. But if you're dead in the system and you don't know it's a dead system, then you're still functioning within that system and it's still taking your lifeblood.
Yes, it does.
Mm-hmm. So this is why I really feel, Claudia, that, you know, the journey we've had looking at the Third Reich with, and really understanding that it's a repeating pattern. And that's the thing that you start to see, that the dead corporate entity, it really doesn't have that many tools except for to fool you.
Mm-hmm.
Right? But we've become so infested, okay, in every single way, in the pipelines and all the things that many people are waking up to right now. The pipelines, okay, are a representation in the outer world of the black snake.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know, so this is the time to wake up. This is a time to claim yourself living.
I mean, really, the state humanity is in now and everything that's going on the planet is a reflection of humanity as a whole. There's not some, evil thing somewhere sitting in the sky plotting up all of this. It's the collective of humanity.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And when people ask me, what can I do? How can we stop this? I always say, I started by looking at myself, at my actions. And, when someone cuts me on the road, it's their problem, not mine. I'm not going to go cut someone else because it was done to me, because then it becomes a never-ending cycle.
Mm-hmm.
You learn what is right, forget revenge thinking, and do at all times what is right. And it's a learning process,
Mm-hmm.
step by step.
Mm-hmm. That's a vital part of it, is to become the observer of yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Don't let that observer ever go to sleep. Check with yourself all the time, right? Because you say it's an action. Well, an action of free will is in action. It is an act.
Yeah.
And otherwise we're in reaction. And that's just where they want to keep us.
Yes, also don't be the effect.
Right.
Be a cause, and be a conscious cause.
Mm-hmm.
And then you get the effect you wish.
Mm-hmm. So it works on all realms. It works on all things. And just to go back to the song.
Yep.
And that is, I didn't really get into that, too much here, but it was like during this, putting this together, was like I started to hear the root sounds. Or, all right, even like if you look at the Aborigine, you see that they are, how do they make their sounds? Well, they make them with sticks. They make them with trees. The didgeridoo is a hollowed out tree, and that they burn and carbonize on the inside, and then they blow through it, and the sound, it's the sound.
It always comes down to sound.
Mm-hmm. Yes, it does. And I felt like, when we were going through this, it was like, I'm going to put us back on the screen for a second here. When we were going through this, and, on a personal note, as in note, not that note, going down into the deep well, you come to a place where you start to hear, whoa. It's like a breath. It's like a vibration. You can feel it in your body, and you understand it in your body. My mind is not capable of giving other than trying to put these words together. If you go into the Aborigine sounds, if you hear the African drums, if you hear the world drum, every culture drums. What are the drums saying? What are the animals saying? What are the trees saying? What is everything around you saying? It's sound. And it's an inner sound as much as it is an outer sound. So when I hear drums, whether I hear a drum, somebody drumming, I hear an inner drum. Right? So it was like for the past, maybe the month after the election and all that, I didn't hear the drum anymore. Where's the drums? Where's the drums? Right? And then something really lifted, and it's like these two waves. They're going, right? And so we have these counter forces, and they're in a wave-like motion right now. Yeah. So when I heard the drums again, I went, okay, the rise and the fall, the rise and the fall, the rise and the fall. Well, are we going to lift up in song? This is, for me, the vital aspect of this. Mm-hmm. Or are we going to stay stuck in a machine? I'm not going to read all of this. I'm just going to leave it on the screen for a moment. This came, and this is actually a beautiful manifestation in a way of spirit, of the universe. When you start to really open up, like really open up, and everything starts talking to you, information comes from the most unexpected places, right? Yeah, primarily Facebook right now, which is just like it's crazy. But so this is a piece of a document. It was a group of elders that got together and they were speaking. And this one's just known as Dear Man. And when I started to read it and deepen into it, it was like such a deep prophecy, because he's talking about the four root races: the white man, the black man, the red man, and the yellow race, and how they've all been contaminated. But he said Spirit gave the white race responsibility for fire. It goes back to everything we were just talking about. But the white man forgot his responsibility, and he created the nuclear bomb. And so where is the white race? It's right at the center, the smallest center of the circle, okay? It's the inner earth realm, all right? And I'm not going to speak today, I don't think you want, unless you want to speak to what happened to the white race, Claudia.
No, let's leave that out.
Okay. But the first genocide, the continuous genocide on the planet, was practiced on all of the root races. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Right? So we also have to go saying behind all of this, or underneath all of this, is the black snake. Whatever that means to anybody. And let me go back one more time here. Wait. Okay, so we have brought these imbalances on ourselves. The red race has responsibility for the land, but cannot do so because of herbicides, acid rain, and underground nuclear testing. Remember, this was a document from 1996. Spirit told Dear Man that the other races were to follow the red way of life too, but they have lost it. Yeah. And so if we just think for a moment what's happening on the planet right now, it is the red way of life, okay? It's walk the red road, all right? Walk it. Start walking it, all right? It's not enough to stay on our keyboards. It's not enough to just sit and, blame somebody else or some other race or blah, 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 or follow frickin', Trumpster the hamster around in a circle in a cage. None of these activities are going to give back to us the abundance that we lost. We have to walk on the earth in peace. We have to be peace. So little steps, you know, garden, I mean, go for walks, sit in silence, break your habits. You know, habits are just habitual reactions to the world around you. And the last line here, because it goes into the starting, it will take 9 worlds before we get to the spirit world. We're moving into the 5th world. And it's goes back to Odin and Yggdrasil, which is the cosmic tree, and on it are the 9 worlds. And in the roots. They're intimately connected. You cannot have the fruits if you don't go down to the roots. And that's just some links that I put up. They're by no way complete. I mean, I don't know how many documents you and I went through. I really don't.
I'm not sure there's a number for that by now, you know.
I don't know. And not only that, where a lot of this information was coming in through our friends, just like saying, look at this, look at this, look at this. And you're looking at all these things, right? And you're like, where does that fit in? So it's an inner journey. It was just probably for me doing this one PowerPoint is a culmination of, if not years, lifetimes. Right? And it's only the beginning. It's a never ending. It never ends, right? So embrace the unknown. Embrace the unseen. Listen to yourselves. I say the same thing all the time. I'm kind of like a broken record on that. Get off your TV sets, you know? Quit going down rabbit holes. Quit going down rabbit holes. Has anybody...
Stop buying Nestle.
Don't buy Nestle, okay? Read labels in the grocery store. Don't vaccinate your children. Take them out of school. I mean, you know, one thing, one step. And what happens is the miracle, okay? Because you detach yourself from the death cult, okay? From this dark black snake. When you detach your energy from it, your return is 1,000-fold. That's how abundant this plane, this earth plane of creation is. This is how vital in all of the universes everywhere, this earth realm is vital.
Mm-hmm.
That's it.
Yep, that's it.
That's it. Okay. So, thank you, Claudia. Once again, you know, say again to all of our friends, and yeah, well, we'll probably end up doing another one.
I guess so.
Maybe. Unless we fall off the edge. Unless we make it to the Antarctica, we may never be seen again, right?
That's right.
Yeah. Okay. Love you.
Love you.